Today I'm going to go through the setup and installation of BSPWM window manager on a puppylinux. This particular puppylinux is a FOSSA PUP 64, but similar procedure can be followed in all the puppylinux distributions. When you first boot into a fresh copy of FOSSA PUP 64, you will be greeted with this quick setup screen. And for my configuration, I need EN here, English USA, EN slash US. And rather than, in my particular case of the Western California, although I live near LA, it should really be a US Pacific way down here. Otherwise, time may be falsely reported. So for Western US, California time, US Pacific is the correct. And then we will go ahead and firewall enable and time from internet. And rest of it is pretty standard. And then we'll go ahead and firewall setup. We'll complete that. At this juncture, main thing that we want to do is make sure we get a connection. It automatically connects on an Ethernet on my computer, but if you happen to have Wi-Fi, you need to connect via internet. What you need to do is right-click on here and get into setup networking, and then wired or wireless LAN, simple network setup. In my case, I only have Ethernet, so it's all ready to go. But if you have a Wi-Fi USB stick, for example, it'll show up as WLAN 0, and you need to click that. But for me, it's just Ethernet, and then watch that it's gonna connect again. We'll just give it a second. So now it's connected, successful connection to wired network, okay. And then we'll use the same setup on next boot. And then we'll also get a time from the internet. So every time it boots up, you'll get the correct time from the internet. And then we'll go ahead and restart X. Okay, now after restarting, the firewall is set up and the internet is connected. And what we want to do is we want to save this present configuration. So for eventual installation of BSPWM window manager. So we'll go ahead and right-click on a desktop and exit, and we're going to create a save folder. We will reboot, and then we want to save to a folder. And we don't need the encryption. We're going to use what's called a save folder rather than a single file. And then for my purpose, I'll just put in YouTube. You can just put in any number or even no number, but as long as you remember that this is save folder for BSPWM. So, and then it will save, in my case, internal hard drive, which is fine. Yes, save. And it's going to save the configuration. It's going to reboot. And we should end up in a last setup desktop. So we'll just give it a minute. Go ahead and let it complete. So we can verify that it saved the correct folder, and then we ended up with a firewall that's all ready to go, and also a internet connection. And now what we want to do is we want to update in FOSA Pub main update is through the package manager. So we just need to actually update the package manager. So we'll go ahead and click install icon and install application on Puppy Package Manager, PPM. We'll click on that, and we'll go ahead and wrench icon here, configure package manager, and update database, and then update now, and we'll let it go ahead and do its thing. So and we'll go ahead and enter to exit, and then OK. And then now what we need is we need to install some packages that we're gonna need for BSPWM window manager. So first is BSPWM, and here's the package we need. And then most BSPWM window managers users seems to prefer Polybar, but I am fond of Tint 2 to replace the JWM bar down here. So we'll go ahead and download Tint 2 here. And in fact, I don't think there is a Polybar on the package, so there's no Polybar, so we don't need that. And then at this point, because we're gonna lose this menu system, which is a part of JWM, BSP does not have this, so I'm gonna install rofi as a application launcher. So we'll go ahead and click this to sort alphabetically, and we'll go all the way down to rofi here. So we have these three packages that we want to install, and we'll just install do it, clicking on the do it, and it'll install those packages. So we give it a minute. BSPWM package manager has a separate key binding application called SXHKD, which is mainly for keyboard binding for the BSPWM. So rofi is going to be installed. It all looks good. We'll go ahead and get out of that. Okay. So what we want to do at this point is go ahead and get ready to boot into BSPWM window manager. Right now it's at JWM window manager, which is the default FOSA Pub 64. So let's just go ahead and reboot at this time, and then we will go through the configuration of BSP, continue on with the BSP configuration. Now we're going to continue with the setting up of the BSPWM. So when we install the file BSPWM and tint2, it also installs template files. So we need to get those templates into configuration file, and I'll show you how to do that. And we can open up the file manager root level and Control H to visualize the dot files, also hidden files. And under configuration, dot configuration folder, there are several folders that we need to create for the template files to reside in. So with a Rocks file manager, with clicking on F4 will bring up a terminal. So here we can go ahead and create some folders under dot configuration folder. So what we need is BSPWM and also SXHKD, which is a key binding app for the window manager, and also tint2. So when we click, you see this folders have been created, tint2. So next, what we need to do is find out what the template files are. So here, we can use this to find the SXHKDRC file. We can run this command, find \xdv. We need this because I have several other saved folders for various puppylinux distributions, and we don't need to search all through those folders. We just need it for present root. So we'll go ahead and enter that command, and it's in the template is within a folder USR share doc BSPWM examples, and there is a file that we need to transfer. Also, just up page key, and we also will find where the BSPWM RC file is. Similarly, it's actually in the same folder. So that file goes into BSPWM. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and copy. So copy USR share doc BSPWM examples BSPWMRC2 root config and BSPWM. So we need to copy RC file to BSPWM. So we'll go ahead and check, see if the template has been inserted. It has, and we can go back by tab, a backward key. And now we'll have to, similarly, we have to put a SXHKD RC file in here. So we'll go ahead and use the same similar command, SXHKD, and then we need to change this to SXHKD RC. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. And then we can check it again, see if it's there. Yes, indeed. We'll go ahead and backspace to get back. Now we need to put the template of tint2 files here under tint2. So we'll go ahead and up arrow key, find iname tint2rc. So it's in a file folder called, so we'll go ahead and copy etc xdg tint2 tint file into root config tint2. So now we got all those template files in there. So at this juncture, what we'll do now is to go ahead and tell the puppy that next time when it boots, it needs to boot into BSPWM rather than JWM. So that is controlled by a file. You can, under rocks, you can just backslash and go back to etc, back, return I should say, etc, and then go way down in the window manager file and then right click into Genie text editor. So here what we want to do is, rather than tell the puppy rather than JWM, it needs to boot into BSPWM and simply save. And then let's reboot, and then you'll boot into BSPWM. Before we do that, I think that what we need to do is clean up the desktop, because the BSPWM will function with a clean desktop. So we can do that by getting into a file manager again and Control H. Actually, we don't need to go Control H. We'll go to Startup, and we'll go ahead and, there is a conky start. We'll go ahead and delete this file. So right click and put it in the trash. And then also so next time it boots, that conky, this here will not start. And then we also want to get rid of all these icons in the desktop. So we can do that at this stage by JWM Desk Manager, and then go to Icon Layout, and then there, no desktop icons. Apply. So it's pretty clean now, but we need to tell it to reboot. So easiest way, since we don't have any menu by right or left click on the desktop, we can go ahead and use one of these icons and get a rocks file manager to start here. And within the Firefox manager, we can go ahead and click on our right click and terminal here, and then simply type in reboot. After a reboot, you should come to this screen, a similar screen. Without the conky and without the desktop applications. Now, just in case if you do have conky still running, what you can do is just start the terminal, and then give it a command of kill all conky and background, and then enter, and it'll kill the conky. So obviously, in my case, I don't have to do this. Okay. The next thing what we need to do is when we install the BSPWM and Tint2, there has been template files that's been installed, and we need to find those files and put it in the right configuration folder. So when BSPWM does start, it gets set up correctly. So what we can do is go ahead and start the terminal here, and I'll just put this over here. And I've already ran the command, so I'll just up arrow and up again. And the command the first command we want to look at is we want to find where the BSPWMRC file is. So this is the correct command. You don't really need I here, but it ignores the capital letter. XDV here is for me to avoid searching into other saved folders that I have in this computer. So you just make things much more cleaner. It just searches within the root of within the main file system on this FOSSA pup. So and then we'll go ahead and enter that, and then when we get a response, there is a template. It tells us there's a template here, and this is the template that needs to be put in. And Word, we'll just go ahead and start a rocks here, and then go to home icon here, and we'll get a Control H to see all the home folders. So here, when we can see the within the main home folder, there is a configuration folder here, and right now there is no BSPWM folder and SXHKD folder here, and also similarly Tint2 folder needs to be reside here with a template, so to get it all configured correctly. So here on the rocks, we'll go ahead and right click and go to Windows, and then Shell command, terminal command, or you can just put in F4. Here we'll go ahead and within the dot configuration folder, we'll have to give it a command, so we'll create folders. So Tint2 BSPWM SXHKD. So as you can see, the folders has been created. So we'll go ahead and exit out of that. So we need to put in appropriate RC files within this folder. So we'll go ahead and with the first, what we want to do is copy USR share dot BSPWM tab to complete examples tab, and BSPWM, and this file needs to be sent to root config and BSPWM folder. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and enter that. Similarly, we SXHKD file needs to be SXHKD. So this file is in the same folder as BSPWM. So we'll go ahead and, although you don't see it here, let me just make it more clear. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and find, so tint2, and here's the so when you can see that within a same file, same folder, there's SXHKDRC. So we'll go ahead and run this command, and we can just confirm that there is that file, the template file. So we'll go backspace, and go back to the and then similarly, what we need to do is have the tint2 also. So tint2 is in the tint2 is in a different folder. So we'll go ahead and so it's in so we'll go ahead and copy EPC XDG tint2 tint2RC, and we want to copy this to root config and tint2 folder. Now we have templates in so we can take a brief look at the templates. Here's a BSP template. We can right click, and then we can put it in to open as text, and it'll open it in Genie. So here is I made the fonts a little bit bigger. So this is the baseline template that needs to be modified for further. So first part of the BSPWM is to auto start. This is the auto start command here, and we also need to auto start tint2, because once we log into BSPWM, we're gonna lose this bar. So we're gonna need to start tint2. So that's the first part of second part of BSPWMRC is the number of virtual screens. So it comes with 10, but I prefer 5, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then border width has to do with the individual window that will open up, and obviously width of the border. And in between the two windows, once you log into BSPWM, it's going to have a gap, and you can adjust that. And then so rest of it is just configuration of the windows. So in this case, first window that will open will be 0.5 to slightly larger than half, but I usually prefer even larger, so we can just make it 6. So this is how you configure, and this particular last part is it tells the BSP where to which desktop you want the program to open. So for example, it's set up as GIMP to open a desktop 8, but we will not have 8 desktop, so we can, for example, put it in 4 or 3 or 4 or whatever. So this is how you can modify which program gets put on which virtual screen. So we'll go ahead and save this for now. And then similarly, we can go back, and this is BSPWM, and then we can go back to SXHKD, and we can go ahead and drag it into our Genie. And then a default, once we get into BSPWM, default terminal emulator is triggered by superin return, and I prefer superin T. Super TNT. So, and we'll be starting rofi. Let me look at my notes. That the rofi command. So I made preliminary notes. So this is my 10.2 RC, and within SS HKD RC, which we're working on now, rofi command. Let's go ahead and line rep. Rofi command is here. So let me just copy it. That's my so rofi command. I won't use D menu, so we'll go ahead and replace it here. So I just went through the brief SX HKD RC and BSPWM RC, just to get you an idea of how to set this up. Now, at this point, what you want to do is make sure that it, rather than getting into JWM desk manager, we need to log into BSPWM manager. So, what that file is controlled by, just get into so it's in etc folder. So backslash will bring up here, and we'll go into etc folder, and then escape to get rid of the screen. And then we get into left click on window manager file. So then we want to open up as a text, or Genie is fine. And then replace this with BSPWM. We'll save it. So next time when it reboots, it's gonna reboot into BSPWM, and then we'll continue on at that point. Now, after rebooting with a minimal modification of template files, you should arrive at this screen. Now we're in BSPWM window manager. There's no left or right click response. There's no menu, and the test bar has been replaced from JWM to tint2. So first thing we can do is we can go ahead and further modify tint2, so we can left click on this tint2 settings icon, and the full screen gets is shown here. And then there are several ways to modify tint2, but basically what I want to show you briefly is to get into panel. Right now it's in the center bottom, so we can put it on the center top, which is what I prefer. And then we can go ahead and apply, and we can see that it's moved to the top. And then we also need basic launcher. It'd be nice to have icons that we can launch browser and file manager and so on. So we'll get into the launcher, and there's no Firefox installed, so we need to go ahead and IceWizard is not installed, and what is installed as default is a Pale Moon, which is a browser here. We'll go all the way down to the Pale Moon, and then we'll go ahead and left click, and then File Manager's Rocks, File Manager, and go ahead and then Terminal Emulator is URXVT Terminal Emulator. So we put it in, and then we'll go ahead and keep an eye here, and we'll apply. Now we have a launcher, so we can click, for example, here, and then we get into. So let me just close this, so we can go ahead and see that the File Manager Rocks is here. So let me just close that by Control Q. And then we can further close this, Control Q, or we can go ahead and quit. Okay. So with the modification, one of the modification of the template is to start rofi with a key binding of Control Space, and then let me do that now. Then we can see many programs that we can launch through here. So let me just launch Genie. So here it is, then we can enter. And last time we modified it a bit from the base templates, but we're going to modify much more extensively now. And I will refer to my notes, which is personal notes. So we'll go ahead and go all the way up first. And BSPWM, what we're gonna do is replace minimal configuration modification to my my own personal preference. So we'll go ahead and copy this BSPRC, go all the way down here, and we'll go ahead and copy from my personal into the here BSPWMRC, which is present configuration, which is a minimal modification that we made to the template. So we'll replace it to my personal preference. And then you can see it's much more extensive, so we can take a look at this briefly. And it starts tint 2, which is the bar here, and then also we'll start the network monitor app, and also compositor will start along with a keyboard binding app. So that's what's automatically will start. And then there's some configuration of the window manager as far as the border width and so on. And I want, whenever I trigger Dead Beef music player, it starts in fourth. Right now this is number 1, this is first, and I have 5 that's not shown because there's no apps running there. But whenever I start Dead Beef, it should start on a 4th desktop. Similarly, Genie gets started on 5 and so on. So this is only after I reboot or restart the BSPWMRC. So we'll go ahead and go ahead and save that. There's a rule. So I noticed that there is some duplication here. BSP Dead Beef, and then we'll go ahead and mistake. Okay. So we'll look at my notes again. Sorry about that confusion. So we'll go ahead and copy my preference, my personal keys. All here. We'll make a copy into key binding here, and we'll replace this to my preference and save. So let's take a look at the SXHKDRC. So if I enter Super E, the Genie starts without having to go through rofi, for example. And Super R starts Rock's file manager with -n, which is a new file each time, new file manager each time. So Super W starts the Pale Moon browser. And to close an app, rather than Control Q, I'm just used to just entering F4, but that's my own preference. So rest of it is fairly self-explanatory. So that's, and then we'll go ahead and look at the tint 2. Right now tint 2 is looks like this, but I like to have it my own personal preference is to have this copied over. So I'll just go down. So I'll make a copy. And there's, so I'll just go ahead and start tint and then Control H, and we need to drop in tint 2 RC, so configuration and then tint 2, and we'll go ahead and just drag it over here. So this is what's there presently, but we'll go ahead and close this. And we're gonna Control A to grab everything, and then we're gonna make a copy with the Control B. So and then we'll save. So next time when it reboots, it's gonna boot into my own personal preference configuration files. So Control Q. Okay. So we'll stop at this point. When you boot into the latest configuration files, you'll end up with this screen. The tint 2 screen will be most pronounced different from before, and I'll just demonstrate that and the key press of Control and spacebar will bring rofi, and you can launch a lot of files from here and escape. And one of the key binding I put in is the Genie. So we'll go ahead and Super E will bring up Genie, and you'll notice that it goes to the 5th screen as we intended from looking at this BSPWM. So we can look at the Genie here, and we instructed that to go to the 5th. And similarly, we can go ahead and enter Super W, which will place the browser in the first screen. So you can see that it went to the first screen, and the browser has started. So the other key bindings are if I enter Control Shift right arrow will go to the next screen with a application. So we'll go ahead and Control Shift right arrow will get to the Genie, and similarly Control Shift the left will go to the Pale Moon. Super 2 will go to second screen, and then we can start Super R here, and then we can enter another Super R and yet another. And because I've modified close application key to F4, I just push enter F4 and it'll close. And then here I can trigger a rofi, and we can pretty much we can get a calculator up, and we can see the calculator come up. So these are basic demonstration of the F4. This is a basic demonstration of my latest configuration files. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks.